Welcome, everybody, to the BURKE Brigade, brought to you by the Liberty Daily.
Your conservative alternative to the Drudge Report.
Visit thelibertydaily.com. Thelibertydaily.com. Your Drudge alternative. Another crazy day in this greatest country still, just because all of the other ones suck on God's green earth. Today we had an attempt at a scam operation using
Hurricane Harvey,
for political gain. I'm Matthew Burke, by the way.
And I'm Jennifer Burke.
And we are the BURKE Brigade. Thank you for tuning in. We're original Tea Partiers. We went to the first Tea Party rally, which was, goes against what some reports are, but you could look it up. Even Michelle Malkin reported on it at the time. The first modern-day Tea Party in America, February of 2009, started by our friend Kelly Carrender, and that's how we got our start. We got triggered by Bush and Obama and big government, and we've been doing what we can to fight for freedom and to return America to limited constitutional government. Doing what we can and fighting the fight here. So we started the libertydaily.com. We started that because we noticed that Drudge links primarily to leftist media, which has the unintended. Drudge is great. They've done, some amazing work over the years, so I'm not bashing Drudge at all. Would recommend, you continue to go there, but check out...
I wouldn't. I'd recommend you go to the Liberty Daily.
Well, check out the Liberty Daily too, of course, and, whichever one you like best, it's free market. But, I noticed they always drove traffic, or primarily not always, drove traffic to the Democrat media complex, propping up places like the New York Times,
Politico.
Yeah, Politico, the Washington Post. And it's like these organizations were teetering. They were on the verge of bankruptcy. The New York Times had to have Mexican billionaire Carlos Slim bail them out. The Washington Post had to have Amazon's Jeff Bezos bail them out. But, maybe they wouldn't even be around if there weren't links to their stories on the world's largest news aggregator, the Drudge Report. So check out the Liberty Daily. Probably 99.9% of the stories we link to are to conservative leaning or
conservative leaning
liberty,
groups.
Liberty or libertarian leaning or Christian culture leaning websites. We link a lot to the Daily Caller, the Daily Wire, the Blaze, the Politistic, which is another one of our sites that we tend to write a lot on. Washington Times, Washington Examiner, Washington Free Beacon, CNS News, The Right Scoop, conservative leaning or conservative websites that we found to be reliable. Front Page Mag, for example, over the years. So you're going to get a high degree of integrity, and you'll notice we're not afraid to call a spade, or a Marxist, or a communist, or a rhino. We don't necessarily buy into the traditional values. Labels, the traditional labels, Democrat, Republican, because there aren't any Democrats that are Republicans, but there's a lot of Republicans that are Democrats. Isn't that true?
Yes, there are. Wolves in sheep's clothing.
Yeah, what we call rhinos, Republicans in name only. You've got the John McCains of the world, the Lindsey Grahams of the world, the Representative Peter Kings of the world, the Mitch McConnell.
Turtle.
You usually call him something else.
Oh, Obama's Mitch.
Yeah. How did that work, stopping that Iran deal, that $150 billion? I saw the estimate today for Hurricane Harvey so far being $160 billion. Imagine that, what it's going to take to rebuild the fourth largest city in America, in Houston. But Obama gave Iran $150 billion.
In cash, on pallets, flown on a plane in the dark.
In cash.
But there's nothing wrong with that. You're a racist if you want to say
you
anything
racist.
about it.
You racist pig. What's wrong with you? What are you, KKK? What are you, a Nazi?
White supremacist?
Yeah, what are you, a white supremacist or something? Good Lord. Help us. So just think about that. But what did people like McConnell? What did people like McCain? You know, you had fighters like Ted Cruz out fighting against that, speaking against that, condemning that, but he couldn't get any backing.
Nope.
Because the rhinos were too busy kissing Obama's ass.
Right.
They're not
praising
Republicans.
Obama and bashing conservatives.
Thanks,
Ted Cruz.
Obama. Let me bend over. Could you give me another one? Thank you so much.
When you want to meet up for more drinks and cigarettes.
I'm sure back in the day, him and Boehner used to smoke a few Marlboros together.
Right.
Or a few unfiltered Winstons or something. So, as we were saying, Linda Sarsour.
Emphasis on the sewer.
Honey, take the ball and run with this, will you?
Sure. Linda Sarsour, you know, the fake feminist icon that the left wants to prop up. She's actually a terrorist-loving Muslim who's a Christian and Jew basher and hater.
But masquerades as a feminazi.
Masquerades as a feminazi. She is now the left's face for women's rights. The left, except if you're a Christian woman, and then she...
No, then she hates your freaking guts.
Remember, what's her name? Ali? The Christian woman who's a victim of female genital mutilation?
Right.
Yeah, I think Linda Sarsour...
Not a problem.
Sarsour...
Not a problem.
Said something about how she deserved to have her vagina...
She did.
Mutilated and pulled out. She denied she said it, but she did.
Where was NOW, the National Organization for Winches? Where were they?
No, it's pretty apparent now. If you are a conservative woman or a woman who does not buy into the leftist perverted ideology, now doesn't give a rip about you.
No, if you're not a progressive pervert, they don't care.
So Linda Sarsour,
or a communist, America hating communist.
In true what's the word you used when you were typing the scamming fashion?
Yeah, it's a scam.
In true scamming fashion, use the tragedy of Hurricane Harvey. Now, Hurricane Harvey, Houston. The other day, someone said, imagine all the collegiate and all the NFL stadiums filled with water 100 times over, and you begin to get a glimpse of what it's like with the water that fell in Houston, in the greater metropolitan area of Houston. It is unfathomable.
Every stadium 100 times over.
100 times over. There are freeways that you can no longer see. 25 people have lost their lives, including a police officer who is desperately trying to get into his police station so he could help people. People are coming together to try to do what they can to help those in need. And Linda Sarsour decided that she will never let a tragedy go to waste, and it was the perfect opportunity to try to scam people. So she tweeted, donate to the hashtag Harvey Hurricane Relief Fund. So she has this link.
And where does that link take you to?
Hold on, I'll tell you. In the Texas Organizing Project, at Organized Texas on Twitter, said... rebuilding in areas impacted by hashtag Hurricane Harvey will be the most challenging for marginalized communities. Donate here. So you click on the link that Sarsour led you to, and it says, you donate to the Hurricane Harvey Community Relief Fund. They have a picture of what a hurricane looks like on the radar.
That's so deceiving.
Your donation is vital to ensuring that we have the resources we need to organize and fight for Texans devastated by Hurricane Harvey. And they have a picture of the flood and, the freeway that you can no longer see with clouds covering up downtown Houston. And then they reveal what their money was really for, and it ain't a damn thing to do with the victims of Hurricane Harvey.
It's all these communist front groups.
Communist front group and taking advantage of people who are victims of this storm and victimizing them once again. Rebuilding in areas impacted by Harvey will be most challenging for marginalized communities. Nearly a quarter of Houstonians live in poverty, approximately 550,000 people, and there are 575,000 immigrants in the Houston metro area. You get that, immigrants, illegal or legal? They are identifying you as their next victim class. They're done with the black people. They kick them to the curb. We got you in our back pocket. Let's go on to you, make you feel like you're a victim and you can't do anything for yourself and you need the big papas and mamas of the Democrat Party take care of you, but I digress. We will work to ensure that Harvey's most vulnerable victims will have access to critical services, from first response and basic needs to healthcare, housing, and transportation.
No, wrong.
I don't think anyone has been denied services. Do you think people have said, oh, this is a poor area, we're going to let them people drown?
No.
To hell with them. No. People have been going in, risking their lives, and the beautiful thing to see amidst all these pictures is there is no vision of race. You see black people rescuing white people.
It's beautiful.
You see white people rescuing black people.
Yep.
You see people of various ethnicities
joined
in hands in prayers. But no, you're not supposed to think like that. You're a victim, damn it.
The only people
you're a victim.
The only people that care about skin color are the Democrat Party and the media. But I digress.
Right. And here in the end, together we will organize and advocate for our devastated community, shining a spotlight on inequality.
Organize.
Emerge. That's the key word. In the restoration of lives, livelihoods, homes, amplifying the needs of hard-hit communities and providing legal assistance for residents wrongfully denied of government support. No one's been wrongfully denied of government support.
That's all Marxist claptrap.
Give us money so we can fund our political PAC. That's all that is.
But let's
shame on you.
Let's look who the organizations are that are listed down at the bottoms. You know, their logo. There's no link down at the bottom you can click on. So you can't go and see where the money's going. But the first one is the TRLA. TRLA. Now, do you know what TRLA stands for? I didn't. And nobody that goes to that link would either. They will just read that Marxist claptrap and, think, oh, they're trying to help. No, they're not. No, they're not trying to help. It goes to the Texas Rio Grande Legal Aid. Texas Rio Grande Legal Aid, which goes to illegals. It's to provide legal assistance for illegal aliens so they can scam and bypass the immigration laws, even though they came across the border illegally.
Yeah, and some of these organizations just have their logos.
Right.
It's just their logo.
TRLA. You wouldn't know what it is.
You can't even click on it. I don't. This one with a house and a star. I don't know what the hell that is. I don't know what that is. I don't know who these people are. You can't click on it.
No letters even.
No letters. No. You can't click on it to find out who they are. It is a scam. Linda Sarsour, the Muslim terrorist supporting disgusting excuse for a human being, is taking advantage of the devastation in Houston to line her pockets and push her political ideology. Shame on you, Linda Sarsour. There's a reason your last name, the last syllable, is sewer, because that's where you live, in the freaking gutter.
You're so racist.
I can't be racist. I'm black.
You're so racist. It's just absolutely horrible how racist you are. Just a big old racist. Oh, and speaking of communist front groups, Color of Change. Let's just segue to that. I know that's out of order, but it's just so appropriate. You were going to tell us, my dear, about the Color of Change, which was another communist front group started by
self-avowed commie Van Jones, formerly of the the Obama administration, now a CNN contributor and host.
Right? Yeah. Given credibility, leave it to CNN, the communist news network, to give admitted commie pinko Van Jones legitimacy. You know, instead of condemning him and kicking his ass out of the country to North Korea where he belongs.
Right. That's the diversity of thought that they like, pushing communist propaganda.
Right. That's all good and well. Not a problem there. But tell us what Color of Change is up to, because it sounds to me like they may be on, what would the left say, the wrong side of history.
Right. You know, again, taking advantage of what the people of Houston and the greater Houston metropolitan area and other areas of Texas, like Victoria, Rockport, Port Arthur, are going through, and using it to push your own warped political thought.
Well, you never let a crisis go to waste.
Never let a crisis go to waste. Okay, so Van Jones's group, Color of Change, an ABC News reporter, Tom Lamas, posted, "We're witnessing looting right now." Hold on, let me tell you.
That was in Berkeley.
Yeah.
He
Tom
was
Lamas
on site.
Not Berkeley. Is an ABC News, World News Tonight weekend anchor and chief national correspondent. So he was there witnessing. He said, "We're witnessing looting right now at a large supermarket in the northeast part of Houston, and police have just discovered a body nearby." Color of Change immediately. Well, not immediately. A couple hours later, they're probably scouring Harvey to see how they can take advantage of things there to push their commie thoughts. Texans searching for food during the hurricane are not looters. Tell ABC and Tom Lamas ABC to apologize now. Let's see how many people have signed this idiotic petition. I'm curious.
So they launched a petition in support of Houston looters.
In support of Houston looters.
You can get that from frontpagemag.com. Only in the Democrat Party will you have somebody not condemning these looters.
Right.
Who are absolutely, I don't care if they're white, black, or green.
Sign the petition. You know what it is? It's a data mining scheme.
Of course it is.
They want your name, your email address, your zip code. Those are all required fields.
Right.
That is a data mining scheme. We're asking you and your reporter, Tom Lamas, to issue an apology. Instead of reporting on the desperate circumstances of Hurricane Harvey with compassion, he actually diverted first responders' resources that could have been used to save stranded families and called the police on victims searching for food.
They're
in
shooting
times of
people.
Emergency and natural disaster, television news is often the only way that bystanders can ascertain what's happening. News media has the sacred duty of framing tragedy in an honest, unbiased, and compassionate manner. They were looting. You know how we know that it wasn't just people who were victims of the storm?
Maybe because people were dodging bullets?
Trying to find food? Because they're wearing all black with black hoodies and some with masks.
And
that's how we know, Van Commie Jones.
And are they pulling food out or colored TVs so they can survive the storm?
Well, they want to have something to watch. If they didn't lose power, they have to have the best television, income inequality, and all.
I gotta get me a new iPhone because I'm hungry.
I gotta get me some new Nikes because I gotta be able to walk on the street more when I go loot some stores up.
Oh my God, you're racist.
Honey, come on. They can't see me. They don't know that it's impossible for me to be racist because Eric Holder said a black person can't be.
Why are they stealing that stuff anyway? Don't they have Obama phones? Ay. What's next on our agenda? Do you know?
What you want to continue? You want to say a good, positive note about Houston? What's going on in Houston right now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Talk about my boy JJ. What's up?
Oh my God.
JJ Watt, already a legend.
Great
legend in the city of Houston.
A legend in my own mind.
Houston absolutely loves JJ Watt. The Wisconsin boys adopted Texas as his home. He lives in Pearland, Texas, and he just wanted to be home. He wanted to be in Houston to be able to help. So he decided that what he was going to do was to launch a fundraising thing with You Caring. He didn't go to You Caring. This was new news to me, honey. I don't know if it was news to you. They don't take any percentage of money raised.
How did they stay in business?
They ask for donations just to keep their website up.
Is that
so
right?
They don't. I learned that, yes. They don't take any
That's
money
really cool.
from that.
I mean, I hope some people are throwing him a nickel or two, because that's pretty good service.
So J.J. Watt his initial goal, I believe, was $500,000, and he donated the first $100,000. And then when he surpassed $100,000, or $500,000, he upped it to $1 million.
Oh my
and then
gosh, is that what it is now?
Don't give it away. Then he upped
just
it
a
to
couple
$3
hours
million.
ago.
And then he upped it to $4. Every time he surpassed his goal, he would up it. So he upped it to $4 million, blew past that. Upped it to $5 million, blew past that. Then he went from $5 million, I believe, to $10 million. He upped it to $10 million because people have just been donating in droves.
We went to the gym. We went to the gym 3 hours ago.
Yeah, and it was what, like 7.3 million?
Oh, I thought it was 5 something.
No, maybe when we came home it was 7. No, it was 6 something.
When we left.
And then it was 7 something when we came home. Now, right now, at 10:30 Houston time, it is at $8.82 million raised by 83,000 donors.
And what was the original goal again?
500,000.
And it's at 8.8 million. You know what I contend? I mean, we've got FEMA and all these things, and thank God they're here, but I contend that in the future, if you got the government out of it and you lowered everybody's taxes, that you would have charities and donations like this explode even more. I mean, Americans are so generous. But if you got the government out of the way, you would have private charities. You'd have people being able to afford to give more to the Red Cross and other relief efforts, other emergency. You'd have new charities prop up because people would see the void.
Right.
You know, back in the good old days, there was no FEMA or any of that.
Right.
And so Americans, you know what they did? They took care of themselves.
Right. And if you're wondering where all this money is going to, J.J. Watt did a video on his Facebook page. Talking about where the money is going to. None of the money that you carrying, some of these places that are crowdfunding sources take percentage. They do not take any money from what is raised. They operate based upon donations directly to them. Compassionate crowdfunding is what they call themselves. And so I highly encourage you to go to youcaring.com/victims of Hurricane Harvey. Let me make sure that'll take you directly there. Is what it is. And these, look, J.J. Watt. Oh, you got to add this on. Victims of Hurricane Harvey -915053. You caring, that's YOU caring.com/victims of Hurricane Harvey -915053.
Or you could probably just go to J.J. Watt's Facebook page and get the link there. Yes. If you can't remember all that.
Yes, but just a beautiful outpouring of support from people around the country for Houston. Once again, showing you that America is not as divided as the commies at CNN would let you believe.
Right. And the anti-American Democrat
and the
Party.
Marxists at MSNBC.
Right.
Commies at CNN, Marxists at MSNBC.
And Linda Sarsour. Okay, so Los Angeles, the leftist lunatics in Los Angeles today. This is something that you'll be hearing about tomorrow when you listen to your favorite radio talk show host. It'll be something on the front pages. The leftist lunatics in Los Angeles, by the way, it's a headline story at
TheLibertyDaily.com.
They voted to rename Columbus Day Indigenous Peoples Day. How about that?
Yet further attack on America's history.
Another sacrificial offering to the false progressive pagan god of political correctness. Yeah, but you know what? I'm part Native American.
As am I, hon.
Yeah. You are too, and you're black, so what about that?
What about it?
You're a racist.
I can't be racist. I'm black. I'm more black than Barack Obama. How about that?
I probably am too. No, I'm not. But I am more Native American than Elizabeth Warren. I will tell you that. And I am offended by this. I am offended that they would change the name of Columbus Day. And I demand social justice.
I demand Christopher Columbus Day justice.
Christopher Columbus Day. Christopher Columbus Day. We need to do a chant. We need to do a march. We need to do agitation. We need to do the full deal meal here. So they're changing it. Let's read here. This is from the Washington Examiner, WashingtonExaminer.com. The Los Angeles City Council of Kooks. That's my edit.
That's a good addition, huh?
The Los Angeles City Council of Kooks on Wednesday voted to rename Columbus Day Indigenous Peoples Day. What is it, Indigenous people?
I don't even know.
I mean, that in itself just sounds derogatory.
That in itself sounds like
Indian or Native American or something.
Right, pandering.
Indigenous?
That in itself
sounds like somebody digging in dirt or something. Over the years, many Native American groups and activists have decried the holiday as celebrating genocide. No, they haven't. Those are communist front groups that are funded by George Soros, prompting numerous cities throughout the U.S. to change its name and emphasis.
Numerous left-wing radical commie pinko cities.
And, of course, we have Columbus Day coming up here, 3-day weekend. And, you know, by the way, he discovered America, but that's no big deal. None of us would be sitting here, probably, if it weren't for Christopher Columbus. But that's just a minor detail here. So, then, you know, we have the politically correct, inconvenient problem, very problematic, that now Italian American groups have voiced their opposition to changing the holiday because Christopher Columbus was Italian. So now, because they're kicking Christopher Columbus in the ass,
right,
they're discriminating against Italians.
Yeah, so we have warring factions.
Yeah, imagine that. You can't pander to everybody, Democrats. Eventually, there's gonna be a problem.
Well, but the Italians are considered to be white people, so the Democrats don't give a rip.
Maybe so. Maybe so. So they point out here that lefty cities like Seattle, Albuquerque, and Denver have already started calling it Indigenous Peoples Day. Absolutely shameful. It's despicable.
Absolutely despicable.
And you know what else? I mean, this is a little inconvenient truth, but Native Americans owned slaves. Did you know that?
I think I did.
Aren't we supposed to be like beheading every statue that owned slaves? Aren't we supposed to be
or that
ripping them down?
Tell people owned slaves even if they didn't?
Thomas Jefferson, George Washington. I mean, that's the left's war on history, right?
Right.
Well, you can just Google or Bing Native Americans had
Bing
slaves.
It, baby.
You'll see entry after entry from history. I mean, this is not even up for debate. To quote Al Gore, the debate is over.
Over.
The debate has been settled. Native Americans were slave owners. So what now?
History, lefties. Settled history.
So are you supporting slavery? LA, are you supporting slavery?
Right. Do you agree in slavery of some people? By some groups?
And, according to that, right-wing site Wikipedia, the Native Americans' treatment of black slaves was brutal.
Once again, clear evidence that the left doesn't give a rip. They don't give a rip.
No, what they're trying to do is destroy everything that has anything to do with American culture, American history,
they have
American
been attacking
greatness.
America. They attacked America.
Started with Obama.
Well, no, long before that.
Yeah, but it ramped up under Obama.
When they got prayer out of school,
right?
Number one, and then they've even attacked the Pledge of Allegiance. Oh, is that racist? Look, if somebody is in this country and they don't want to say Pledge of Allegiance to the American flag, get the hell out. You're in the wrong freaking country. I don't want to stand in my country and witness people waving flags other than that of America. One of my nephews, who isn't political at all, he's not political at all, though.
A lot of people aren't.
As a biracial millennial, half black, half white, he has not bought
he's as black as Obama,
right?
So he should get credit, right?
He has not bought into this, $15 for right for 15. He doesn't believe in that. He's like, you want to make $15 an hour, then why don't you go and do some hard work and prove that you can earn it? But I remember when the USA was playing Mexico in soccer, he was watching part of the game and he's like, you're in America and you're supposedly an American citizen and you're waving a Mexican flag?
Something wrong with that.
Something's wrong with that. Something's wrong.
Something is wrong with that picture.
And cheering against the USA, and I was like, yes, my boys were raised right.
Yeah, if you like that country more than this country,
then get out.
Get the hell out. Go back there, because you obviously don't belong here, and you obviously don't want to be here. Okay, so this was on Steven Crowder's great CRTV, Conservative Review TV, CRTV show, Louder with Crowder. And it was an interview with David Barton, respected historian David Barton, who is utterly hated by the left.
Hated, because he keeps true history alive.
Right. He actually gets his history not from communist America haters like Howard Zinn, who bastardized the history books, but actually from the original documents. And how does he know the original documents? He buys them. He owns them.
He has them in his possession.
Right. So you read from what the founders said, you can then tell what they thought. But the left likes to make things up as they go along. They like revisionist history. They would like to eliminate the racist, violent past of the Democrat Party. Yep. They would like to rewrite history in their own image. And he is just a historical realist. It's like, let's look at the documents at the time. Let's look at what the newspaper said at the time, and then we can gather facts based on what was really happening, not what we want to be happening, not what we wished would have happened, but what actually did happen. So he was interviewed. This is so politically incorrect. I mean,
say it, brother.
It is so politically incorrect. So him and Crowder, who's just great, by the way. His show on Sierra TV is just so funny. Don't you love that show?
Love that show. You're a strange animal.
That's what I know. Dun, 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 love that intro. We're going to have an intro someday. Coming up soon probably.
My corgi Ray wants my attention. He keeps looking.
Ray, we're on the air, Ray. What's
Ray,
wrong?
It's time for the BURKE Brigade, baby.
Ray don't care. But Barton asked Crowder the $64,000 question. This is so politically correct that Google will probably incorrect. Google will probably ban ads. YouTube will, which is owned by Google, will probably, if we have time, we'll get to, other stuff they're doing. They're going after Ron Paul now, demonetizing his videos because, as we all know, those dangerous libertarians that want people to have freedom.
Unfriendly to advertisers.
I mean, I don't agree with everything Ron Paul says, but to, shadow ban him by demonetizing the videos is really
control thought.
just
Again,
really sleazy.
Micah Brzezinski.
Orwellian.
Control what people think.
Mm-hmm. That's what they think. So Barton asked a $64,000 question. I wrote about this today. Extensive write-up. That since slavery still exists, not in the past, not just in the past, but currently in Muslim countries, shouldn't we be tearing down mosques too? I mean, the left, the progressive leftists, Marxists, America-hating communists, the Antifa goons, all part of the Democrat Party, want to tear down history. They want to tear down anybody that has anything to do with slavery, that ever owned a slave. Forgetting the fact that that's the way the entire world was back then. And
they got slaves from other black Africans in Africa.
Right, so blacks had slaves, little inconvenient truth, and they gave slaves or sold slaves to America. All wrong, by the way. All wrong. It was a different time in history. Everybody condemns slavery, but let's face it, there's not a Democrat in America that wouldn't own a slave right now if they could.
Right.
You know why? Because they own them now.
Right.
They own them now. They've got 94% of blacks voting Democrat so that they can get free stuff.
Or convincing them. I mean, I've seen black friends of mine complain about taxes, complain about health insurance costs,
and then vote Democrat.
Complain about Planned Parenthood, and then vote Democrat.
Yeah, it's just utterly
brainwashed.
Right. So I'm going to play a little bit of this. I don't know how much, but you got to listen to Barton here because it's really, really, really good stuff.
Yeah, well, you've hit two really important things there. Number one is we're tearing down all these statues because they're associated with slavery. Wait a minute, this entire religion's been doing slavery since 600 or so.
He's talking about Islam. The entire religion of Islam supports slavery, still does, and has been doing so, for about 1,400 years, but not a big deal.
I mean, does that mean we tear down every mosque? Because today, they are still active in slavery. The Muslim world is still active in slavery to this day. Right now. I mean, that different story, but we can go through that later. So if you're after slavery, well, let's look around. Let's not go after the Founding Fathers alone. And by the way, while we're at it, I love doing this. All summer long, we have groups of college kids come in for 2 weeks, and we do all this kind of training. And we're into truth. We want you to know truth, the good, the bad, the ugly of America. We want you to know it's actual. Doesn't matter what a professor says. You look at an original document, read the Quran yourself.
Right.
So we do this kind of stuff on truth. And what we'll do is we put a picture of the signers of the Declaration up in front of those kids at the start of the 2-week session. Say, tell me everybody up there you can name that owns slaves, because we know they're all racist, bigots, and slave owners.
Right.
According to the Democrat Party.
Everybody can name Thomas Jefferson. And I have not, in 5 years of doing this, I've not had anybody name a second slave owner of the Signers Declaration other than Thomas Jefferson. So, wait a minute, time out. Jefferson owned slaves, so that means they're all 56 racist and bigots and slaves. Is that what you're
So, he didn't say this, but this needs to be said. The reason they're going after Jefferson, primarily now the left is targeting Jefferson and George Washington. And the reason why is, who wrote the Declaration of Independence?
They want to tear apart the Constitution.
Well, the Constitution too, but who wrote the Declaration of Independence? It was Thomas Jefferson.
Right, but that's the start
and
of
who
it.
Was
Their ultimate goal is the
Constitution. Who is the founding father? Who is the ultimate founding father? Who is the founding father? Who was the president was told they would be king? Who's the most revered American in American history is George Washington.
Right, but their ultimate goal is the Constitution because since
they're just inching their way back. Right, that's where they're going.
Since I was a little girl, they've been pushing the notion that the Constitution is a living and breathing document that can be changed at their will.
Utter BS. I'd like to use that in traffic court. Are these traffic laws, part of the living and breathing laws that we have? Because I would just like to blow them off, but it doesn't really work that way. obviously they use that living, breathing document so they can mold it and shape it into whatever they feel like. Every day it's like making it up as you go along, not what this country was intended to be.
Telling me, and they recognize that's a pretty fallacious argument. Right. And what we can do is we can show them that out of the 56 signers of the Declaration, only 14 were pro-slavery. 3 out of 4 started abolitionist societies, spoke against slavery, fought against it, led against it. But we get the exception, not the rule. And that's the way we teach American history today.
Exactly right. You never hear that. Do you ever hear that?
Mm-mm.
You have an education background. Did you ever hear that? Did you ever hear that 3 out of 4 of the founding fathers were against slavery?
Mm-mm.
And you never will.
Right. You want to be fair about history? Say, okay, 1/4 of the founding fathers are pro-slavery. They came primarily out of Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina. Let's go north. Whole different ball game. You have blacks elected to office in 1768 in New Hampshire.
So in a racist country, you had blacks elected to office in the 1700s. Did you ever hear that? Did you hear that in the schools?
Do you know that Frederick Douglass was an advisor to numerous American presidents?
Right.
Black Frederick Douglass, one black person in American history, one of the black people in American history that the left wishes to eke out of existence.
So he goes on here and he talks about you had, black people, all Republicans, by the way, to my knowledge, elected, and they held, different political positions for almost 50 years. And there were also a number of black heroes in the Civil War. And history proves this because he's got paintings of them that were done at the time to honor them. So let's go on here.
Revolution.
Right.
So we get this politically correct nonsense going, whether it's on Islam or the founding fathers or slavery. By the way, we don't talk about political correct. Every single statue that's come down has been of a Democrat activist that was a racial bigot.
Context does matter, and you talk about this 1/4, obviously pro-slavery, which the rest were not, at a time where it was considered really revolutionary to be anti-slavery. There's this idea that, if you look at slavery, if you look at the timeline, abolished in England long before the United States, but they don't talk about the British Empire.
Yeah. The anti-slavery people were the radicals.
Yeah, the anti-slavery, we are responsible globally, even though there still exists slavery today, but in the Western world for single-handedly ending slavery as we know it. A lot of people we don't get credit for that. It was a practice carried over. So what about when people say, the guy who wanted to remove the monuments there in George Washington Park, they say George Washington owned slaves, Franklin, Hamilton, and they go through the list, pretty much everyone they saw in the John Adams special.
So this is going to be really good. Barton goes through and corrects what the leftist history professors are doing to bastardize history.
We are so undereducated today, we love platitudes. We'll elect presidents on single phrases like, change or lean forward or whatever. Make America great. What does that mean?
It's true. People are shallow.
Yep.
I don't care. I'm electing a president on that. And so we're into these little bitty platitudes that we know so little about. And in Virginia, I mentioned that Jefferson was a slave owner in Virginia. And he was, I think, 181 slaves, something of the sort like that. Interesting thing, it was illegal for him to free his own slaves.
You couldn't free slaves. It was a law you couldn't free slaves.
That doesn't matter. Black lives matter.
And, this is difficult to talk about, but, they came over here, they couldn't speak English. The whole thing was wrong, right?
Right.
I condemn the whole thing.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is,
you cannot apply today's societal norms to what happened back in the 1800s.
Right. They came over here, they couldn't speak English, they weren't educated, they had nowhere to live. You couldn't just kick them out and say, okay, go fend for yourselves. If you did that all at once, there had to be some kind of orderly release.
Right. What was the one statue? I cannot remember. The one general who was in the Confederate Army, but then he went on to serve America in the U.S. Army, and the left still wants to portray him as this black.
It might have been Robert E. Lee. There are quotes from Robert E. Lee where he detests slavery. So look it up. we've talked about those quotes. We don't have them up right this second, but we've talked about them many times on the BURKE Brigade. Okay, this is such a great conversation. Let's continue to go this. So what he's going to talk about is, the slams, the slurs against Thomas Jefferson. And then pretty soon here, he's also going to talk about how this notion that, Thomas Jefferson had sex with a slave named Sally Heming is completely fake news.
His own slaves, he could not do it by Virginia law. And so what happens is Jefferson is the guy who tried to end slavery nationally. He tried first in Virginia. They voted him down. He introduced the national anti-slavery law, lost by one vote. Jefferson said, "Oh, would to God that one heart would have changed. We could have ended slavery nationally."
So he was fighting to get it changed. And for that, the left has a problem. Why? He was a revolutionary. He was fighting
they want to single him out to be and portray him to be what they want. They know if they tell a lie over and over again, their idiot followers
But
believe
it's because he started the Declaration of Independence.
Right.
And that is the root and branch of our country. And they have to pull that out. They have to destroy that.
They don't want us to have a country.
No, look up that. See if you can find that clip where they're chanting, no USA at all.
Then one vote. Jefferson did that. Jefferson, for nearly 60 years, was a huge leader in the anti-slavery movement, which is why up until and through MLK, black civil rights leaders were praising Jefferson for all he did to try to end slavery.
Right.
So black civil rights leaders praised Thomas Jefferson for his 60-year effort to end slavery, but these white leftists are against Thomas Jefferson? Doesn't that make them racist?
Well, we know they want to enslave blacks one way or another.
Right. I mean, isn't that what LBJ said? He goes, I'll get those N-words voting for me for the next 200 years. And that's why he did the Great Society. But, if I can just put them on the government dole and get them hooked on government dependence, then they'll vote Democrat forever. And you know what? He was right.
Yep.
Let's listen to the peaceful protesters.
Yeah, the Democrat cry.
The Antifa.
Hope it's loud enough.
No Trump, no wall, no USA at all.
No USA at all. This is what the Democrats stand for. Nancy Pelosi, I'm sorry, I don't believe for 1 second her denouncement of Antifa. I don't. Because she praised Occupy Wall Street, which was Antifa.
Right.
They're basically Antifa. Yep. She praised Black Lives Matter, which was Antifa, basically.
Yep.
Same ideology, same leaning, same belief system. And she praised Antifa.
But she's obviously getting enough pushback here. She's getting
to lie to her constituents. You know what? If you want to be a commie, San Fran, Botox Nan, why don't you just go all out, spread eagle, and say, I'm a communist and I'm a communist and I love me for it. Why don't you just say that, Nan?
So racist. Unbelievable. I would really California, there's this big secession movement. They want us to see from the movement.
Please do it, Cali.
They had a useful idiot on a couple weeks ago that was debating Tucker Carlson, and he actually said he wants the middle class to leave the freaking state so he can replace them with illegals.
Right. We don't need you, middle class.
And then you wonder, why these white supremacist groups raise up. Well, because if there's racists on one side, there's going to be racists inspired on the other side. If you say, hey, we're going to get rid of all the white people, what do you think some white people are going to do?
Right.
It's absolutely ridiculous. None of these people are going by Martin Luther King's, inspiring message.
If people went by Martin Luther King's inspiring message of judging someone by the content of their character instead of the character of their skin, we wouldn't have a Democrat Party. Barack Obama.
Or a Democrat Party. They wouldn't exist. They need racism to exist. They need the race card. It's their powerful weapon. Dirty little secret. I'm going to throw this in for no extra charge. This is something you will hear maybe only on the BURKE Brigade. Maybe different variations of it out there. There's only 2 things the left has. 2 things. If you rip off their dirty little black masks, if you take away all the elitism, if you take away all the rhetoric, and you just shred it, here's what they have. They have the race card. If you don't agree with us, you're a racist. And they have Marxist class warfare. Oh, you're only for the rich. Whatever you do. You go to the bathroom, you're for the rich.
Misogyny.
Whatever you...
You don't want to elect Hillary Clinton as president? You're a woman hater. You're a misogynist. You don't believe in women's rights.
That's just a variation of the race card. But that is all they have. They create these groups of victims. You know, a couple decades ago, in the 60s, LBJ realized it could be blacks. You know, now they're trying to do Hispanics by doing open borders. You know, and then, you know, in the early 2000s, you know, Bill Clinton, I mean, he used to be Hillary Clinton. They were for traditional marriage. I mean, Bill Clinton had the Defense of Marriage Act.
Right. Of course, Bill Clinton was for a traditional open marriage.
Old Slick Willie. But they decided, wait a minute, we're missing out on it. Here's a new victim group that we can pander to and buy
take
their
advantage
votes.
of.
Yeah, we can bend them over and screw them hard, and they'll give us their vote. You know, it's utterly shameful. It's despicable. But we're getting off track. So let's listen here more to David Barton's brilliance.
Right. Now, today I always say, Jefferson owned slaves. He's a bad guy. Wait a minute. State law wouldn't. Same with George Washington. George Washington had a loophole in state law that says when you die, you can free your slaves. Got it. He did. And then they closed that loophole by Jefferson. They said, can't have that. We got to close that loophole. And so Virginia, you'll find most of the Virginia founding fathers were anti-slavery. Matter of fact, George Mason, one of the 55 guys who wrote the Constitution, he didn't sign it for 2 reasons. Number one, it didn't have a Bill of Rights. So he wanted a Bill of Rights. He's called the father of Bill of Rights. Right. Number 2, George Mason from Virginia didn't sign the Constitution because it did not abolish slavery. He's a slave owner. You want to end slavery? Free your slaves. No, I'm from Virginia. Can't do it.
So George Mason, he was against slavery. He wouldn't even sign the Constitution. I mean, ever heard of George Mason University? Does he get any credit for wanting to abolish slavery? No. He's lumped in as an old racist white man that founded this country based on racism. You're being lied to. You're being duped by anti-American communists that hate this country, that hate everything it was founded on. And again, they only have 2 things: the race card and class warfare.
Right. Just
and they go back and forth.
Just look at these. You know, it's just disgusting. These limousine liberals just flaunt the fact that they're limousine liberals.
They're getting rich.
Maxine Waters doesn't even live in her poor district. She lives in a gated community in a multi-million-dollar house.
$4.3 million mansion
where the
on a government wage.
Where the vast majority of the residents are white people. Nancy Pelosi can stand before a camera and talk about income inequality while wearing a $12,000 blouse. She's been in government for her entire adult life. The media doesn't say anything about what she's wearing, but you have Ann Romney, you know, whose husband is not only a multimillionaire, self-made, he turned down an inheritance. He did not take his inheritance from his father. He made himself the man he is today, the wealthy man he is today, and the media fixated on the cost of Ann Romney's blouse while they ignored the cost of Michelle Obama, who again, supposedly her husband in government work his entire life, who wore a dress more expensive than the Princess of Wales when she met her. They don't. The liberals just flaunt the fact that they're limousine liberals. Barack Obama and Michelle Obama shacking it up with what's her name? With Valerie Jarrett. Barack Obama and Michelle Obama shacking it up with Valerie Jarrett.
Ray, zip it.
In their multi-million-dollar house, which is behind a wall. Obama, who supposedly is it's an Obama mansion border wall.
I mean, that almost sounds like an elitist. That doesn't sound like someone's down for the struggle.
Down for the struggle. He's down for the struggle, and he wants to take advantage of you. Stop being useful, duped idiots.
All right, so here's the other thing, and you really, please, pay attention to this, because the left is trying to destroy Thomas Jefferson. And I don't know if you've ever spent any time reading the writings of Thomas Jefferson, but utterly brilliant, and a lot of the freedoms, if not most, if not all of the freedoms that we enjoy today, including the freedom of these America haters to speak freely, is because of Thomas Jefferson. So let's hear more of this interview between Steven Crowder and respected historian, respected by all good Americans except America-hating Marxist, David Barton.
Slaves, you don't free them upon death, but we sleep with them. Or sleep with them. There is some of that, some personal decisions. People were imperfect, but I guess.
By the way, let's.
So, see, even Steven Crowder has heard this. Bless his heart, repeated over and over and over and over again in the media as if it's true. It's not true. It's a narrative. It's a narrative that has been rammed down our throats, and they have absolutely no proof for it. And as David Barton will show here, they simply made it up as they went, taking some very, 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 very unbelievable loose ends and put them together to fit a narrative. Hashtag fake news.
Guys.
Zip it.
Let's hit that for just a second, because we're alluding to Thomas Jefferson here, right? I mean, Jefferson slept with slaves. What you got is, does anybody ever pay attention to the fact that they never used Jefferson's DNA in that DNA test?
Oh, you mean science? Wait, you mean the left is anti-science? Are you kidding me? You mean they didn't use science? The leftist god of... Oh my gosh!
I mean, they did that in November of 1998, and Joseph Ellis announced that Jefferson slept with the slaves, and the guy who did the DNA testing, Eugene Foster, we talked to him when we did the second DNA testing. They never used Jefferson's DNA. He said, I told them that. I told them it doesn't prove that.
Well, how do they make the claim?
They lie, Stephen. That's how they make the claim.
Because they just make stuff up. They get these huge megaphones, they make stuff up, and like Hitler, they know that if you repeat a lie often enough, over and over and over again, people will believe it and accept it as fact. Yep. And thank God we now have the ability to push back. Thank God for the internet. Thank God for freedom of speech.
Which is why the Democrats want to regulate the internet.
Yeah, and thank God for, God-fearing conservatives like us and like Mark Levin and like Steven Crowder here and Steve Deace, other great Americans that will speak out, and David Barton, who's done the research and can speak out against this garbage.
Then.
Well, what happened was there were 26 Jefferson males in the area, and they used one of Jefferson's uncles. And since way back then, we believed that it was Thomas Jefferson's younger brother Randolph who did that. Yep, got that DNA, got the connection. Well, that's a Jefferson. That means it was Thomas.
So, out of 26, they just made it up. Well, there's 26 Jefferson, so it must be Thomas. They have no freaking clue. They don't have any clue. No. There's no proof. There's as much proof about that as there is a climate scam, global warming hoax.
Right. The only proof is
none.
that they said it, and they'll say it over and over and over and
right.
over. Right.
Just repeat it over and over again. Well, science says no. It doesn't say it. You're making it up.
No, there was 26 Jefferson males living in Monticello. You don't. As a matter of fact, the first child from Hemmings was a guy named Thomas, and the newspapers of the day, they said she named it Thomas because it named it after Thomas Jefferson. They checked the DNA and this is 1998. The DNA they tested was of Thomas, the first son of Sally Hemings. There was no Jefferson DNA at all in Thomas, nowhere. She had 5 children. They found some Jefferson DNA in the 4th child, and that's the one that we've always said was Jefferson's younger brother, Randolph. Right. That goes back 200 years. But they say, well, Jefferson DNA, it's got to be Thomas. No, the DNA testing showed just the opposite.
In other words, that is a fake news story. But if you go to every left-wing lunatic's website on the internet, they will accept that as absolute fact. They've done absolutely no research, and they just repeat their damnable lies over and over again.
I smell a new series, CSI Jefferson. Yeah! This video was taken as a clip from the full show.
So that's it. That was pretty darn good. So we know again, hashtag fake news was alive and well, even back then, and today they take stuff and they just absolutely try to rewrite history. So we're probably going to close with this, I think. President Trump today gave a speech. It was a good speech on tax reform. There absolutely needs to be tax reform. But let's see here. We've had big priorities. Tax reform is a big priority, but we've had Obamacare repeal, at least up until this point. And here we are, 7 months into an administration. It has utterly failed up until this point, thanks to the Republican Party. And there is no wall, and I think those were the 2 things that Trump really won on. Build the wall, repeal Obamacare. Don't replace it. Just freaking repeal it. But Ann Coulter, she is the biggest Trump sycophant in America. She wrote a book, which I think is sacrilegious, called, instead of In God We Trust, In Trump We Trust. And not a slight to Trump, but I'd like to just keep it In God We Trust.
Right.
Okay? I really don't think you should put that much faith in men. And she has a long history of this sycophantic behavior. She said Mitch McConnell was the greatest thing since sliced onions when he was running for re-election. And, of course, now he's bending her over and bending over everybody else. She's got... She remember when she was behind Chris Christie? Mm-hmm. It was just like, oh my God, Chris Christie. She was in love with him. So now she is absolutely ticked about this Trump tax speech. And she is saying on Twitter, at Ann Coulter, WTF, we all know what that stands. Why is that real Donald Trump back to tax cuts? His election was not, in all caps, about tax cuts. Has he been speaking to Paul Ryan? Again. Next tweet. This wasn't a, quote, once-in-a-lifetime shot at tax cuts. Every GOP tries to cut taxes. This is a, quote, once-in-a-lifetime shot to save the U.S. wall and deportations. She goes on. Another tweet. Bush tax cuts. Did it create millions of jobs? Nope. The rich pocketed their tax cut and sent jobs abroad. Hired guest workers. F them. She goes on. This is a major Twitter storm. It's so obvious Trump's only getting polite applause for tax cuts at his speech. Want to get the crowd hollering at real Donald Trump? Talk about the wall. Well, the problem with Trump, he made these campaign promises. They are things the American people want. They want a strong border. They want the illegals to get the hell out of our country, the foreign invaders. Come in legally. It's not a problem. But don't come in here legally and pretend you're here illegally and pretend you're here legally. Right?
Because there is a difference, media and Democrats.
Yeah, they're not immigrants. There's no such thing as an illegal immigrant. Because an immigrant comes here legally. Those are illegal aliens, and that is not a racist term, Jorge Ramos. That is what the law says. Illegal Alien. Alien. Got it? Illegal alien. There's no such thing as an illegal immigrant. There's no such thing as an undocumented immigrant. I don't know who told you that. I don't know if it was George Soros or one of these other commie wordsmiths, but there's no such thing. So here's what she says. And you know what? I'm not a fan of Ann Coulter. I kind of used to be back in the day because when she just stuck to bashing libs, she was excellent. But when she got on this sycophancy where, I mean, we could have had people more conservative than Trump win. It's over. I get it. But it's people like her that got him elected. And she goes on to say, this is the worst, most tone-deaf speech at real Donald J. Trump has ever given. Jeb had better ideas. Is that the ultimate slam or what? Jeb.
Exclamation mark.
Oh my God, Jeb. She calls him Jeb. Brutal. I don't disagree with her on this. And Trump, his deal is he's surrounded himself with liberal Democrats. There aren't any more. I mean, he's got a conservative vice president, but other than that,
but we haven't heard from him in a while.
Yeah, he's got a whole cabinet of liberal Democrats, globalist cucks. You know, all these Goldman Sachs types. They don't care about repealing Obamacare. They don't. They're in a bubble. They got all this damn money. They don't care about Obamacare. They care about tax cuts. You know, and it's just a whole GOP thing that, you know, has always been that you could just cut your taxes, cut taxes and everything will take care of itself. No. You have to cut spending. You have to reduce government. You have to return to the United States Constitution. And with that, we are going to, because my wife keeps giving me the ISIS sign that I'm decapitating my head. We are going to end this episode of the Burke Brigade, brought to you by the Liberty Daily,
your conservative alternative to the Drudge Report.
Visit thelibertydaily.com. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Burke Brigade.
God bless you, and God bless America, and God bless Texas. Houston strong, baby.
Texas forever.